Yo te traigo esta bomba puertorriqueña. Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de todas partes de Puerto Rico.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Jeff and Joe's Puerto Rican Kitchen, where we show you how to make easy, authentic Puerto Rican recipes. Today we're making alcapurria de yuca. Now alcapurrias are a very common traditional fried treat in Puerto Rico, and oh my god, they're so good. Check out the video in the link to see how you do the original ones. Now the original alcapurrias have yuca and yautía and green bananas in the dough. They're delicious, but they can be a little labor intensive sometimes. So we're gonna make alcapurria de yuca, which is basically a simplified version of the dough, and oh my god, it's so easy. We're just using yuca, and if you get it from the store already ground, so easy. So here's what we need, guys. So we got yuca. This is just ground yuca from the store. Again, you buy it in the bags, you thaw it, and then just pour it out. Super easy. If you want to, you can make it from scratch. Check out the video and the link for how we do pastel de yuca, and there we show you how to peel it and grind it and grate it. You can totally do that. If you want to, go for it. It's just a little more labor intensive. So 2 pounds of ground yuca. Then to add to the yuca, we have a tablespoon of achiotte oil, a tablespoon of sofrito, a packet of sazon, a teaspoon of salt, and then a tablespoon of vegetable shortening. Now the vegetable shortening is optional. I think it really improves the consistency and texture of the masa, but if you want to leave it out, perfectly fine, don't worry about it. So that's the masa. Then for the filling, I just have some picadillo that I made in advance. You can check out the link to see how we make picadillo, but you can also use any beef or pork or chicken filling. Basically, you just want a tasty meat filling that we're gonna stuff inside of the alcapurria. So that's it, guys. You're gonna love it. Let's get cooking. I'm using pre-ground yuca, so we don't need to worry about peeling and grinding it. However, we still need to remove any excess water from our yuca. Otherwise, the alcapurrias won't hold their shape. To do this, place your yuca in the middle of a clean, thin kitchen towel. Then wrap up the yuca and squeeze it until all the liquid is expelled. You'll be surprised by how much water you remove, so keep squeezing until it's dry. Once your yuca is dry, remove it from the cloth and put it back in your mixing bowl. The yuca should look like dry ricotta cheese at this point. Now add the rest of your masa ingredients: the sofrito, achiotte oil, salt, sazon, and vegetable shortening. Once you've added all of your ingredients, blend it together with a fork. Keep mixing until everything is homogeneously combined and there are no big clumps of white yuca. With your masa ready, all you need to do now is shape your alcapurrias. There are a couple ways to do this, but we'll start with what I think is the easiest way. Start by putting down a piece of wax paper on a table and then brushing it with vegetable oil to prevent your alcapurrias from sticking to it. Next, add about half a cup of your masa to the wax paper and flatten it into a disc, creating a slight depression in the middle. Once your dough is flat, add about 2 or 3 heaping tablespoons of your filling into the center of the disc. Next, use your wax paper to fold the alcapurria in 2, folding the dough completely over the filling. Press down around the edges of the alcapurria to seal the dough together. With the alcapurria generally formed, you can detach it from the wax paper and use your hands to shape it into a smooth cylinder. So again, spread some oil on your wax paper, then put down about half a cup of dough and flatten it into a disc. Add your filling in the middle of the dough and then fold the alcapurria in half, sealing the edges so the dough fully encompasses the filling. Once sealed, use your hands to shape it into a smooth cylinder.
Now, although I think the wax paper can be helpful, you can also just make your alcapurrias with your hands. To do this, spread a little oil in your hands and then squeeze about half a cup of the dough into a disc on your hands. Then, as before, spoon some filling into the middle of your dough and then seal the dough around the filling. Finally, shape your alcapurrias into a smooth cylinder and set it aside for frying. This recipe will make approximately 6 alcapurrias, depending on how big you make them. Once your alcapurrias are shaped, let's fry them. Start by adding your oil to a wide, heavy saucepan. You should add enough oil to at least cover about 2/3 of your alcapurrias. Turn your stove on to medium-high heat and heat your oil to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your oil is hot, use a spatula to gently transfer your alcapurrias into your pan so that they don't break apart accidentally. Fry your alcapurrias for approximately 7 to 8 minutes, flipping every 2 minutes. At the end of this period, your alcapurrias should be a deep golden brown and crispy on the outside. If your alcapurrias are getting too dark, turn down the temperature a little bit. You want to make sure your alcapurrias are cooked all the way through. Now enjoy!
So there we go, guys. Our alcapurrias are ready and time to dig in. So a real great combination of crunchy on the outside and then chewy on the inside. Just really delicious, guys. You need to give these a try. When you open them up, you'll notice that you should see there's kind of a uniform color across and it should all look cooked through. If there's still kind of white opaque chunks, that usually means that the yuca hasn't fully cooked, which probably means your oil's getting a little bit too hot. Right, so the real trick with these is to keep the oil low enough so that it doesn't burn on the outside while still cooking through the whole way. So again, I think if you keep it about 350, you should be good. You can even kind of err on the low side just to be sure, because you really don't want the yuca to be undercooked. It just doesn't have a great flavor and it doesn't have the same great texture. So guys, I hope you like the recipe. I really hope you give it a try. It's a really great appetizer and a really easy one to prepare. Because the yuca alcapurrias are kind of harder than the regular ones, they're easy to store kind of in preparation for any type of event that you have. So you saw them, we can shape them, form them, then you can put them on a tray, put them in the fridge if you want, they'll be fine there for a day or two. You can also freeze them. Jamari family does this where you kind of freeze them and then they'll last for a long time. The only thing to think about there is that you need to pull them into the fridge and let them rest for a day or two to make sure they're fully thawed out before you fry them. Because if you fry them while they're still frozen, you're going to get the exact same problem where the outside burns while the inside's still undercooked. So guys, give it a shot. Hope you liked the video. Please do hit like if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe. We'd really like to stay in touch with you. And then come back again next week for another episode of Jeff and Joe's Puerto Rican Kitchen.